New York City. Summer, 2019. A private jet sits silent on a runway. A Manhattan townhouse stands sealed. And inside a federal jail, a man once surrounded by presidents, princes, and billionaires is suddenly gone. How did a former math teacher become one of the most connected men in the world? Who protected him? And why do so many questions remain unanswered? This is the story of Jeffrey Epstein. He wasn't born into power. No dynasty. No old money. No Ivy League degree. Born in Brooklyn in 1953, Epstein grew up in a modest household. By the early 1970s, he was teaching math at an elite private school in Manhattan. He never finished college. Let that sink in. Within a few years, he was on Wall Street. How? That question never fully went away. By the late 1970s, Epstein was working at Bear Stearns. A rapid rise. An abrupt exit. Officially, it was a policy violation. Unofficially, the details remain murky. Pattern interrupt. He leaves Wall Street. Most careers would stall. His accelerates. By the early 1980s, he forms his own financial management firm. His clients, ultra-wealthy individuals, billionaires, foreign elites. He claimed to manage fortunes for people worth billions. But where did his own fortune come from? That question will matter later, and it won't have a clean answer. New York City in the 1990s. Money talks. Access whispers. Epstein buys a massive townhouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side. One of the largest private residences in the city. Private jet. Private island in the US Virgin Islands. Multiple homes. And friends in high places. He moves easily among political leaders. Academic figures. Business titans. Former US President Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane multiple times, according to flight logs. Clinton later stated he knew nothing of Epstein's crimes. Epstein was also connected socially to Donald Trump, though Trump later said he had a falling out with him and was not a fan. And then there was royalty. Prince Andrew, son of Queen Elizabeth II, would later face intense scrutiny over his association with Epstein. Pause. How does one man gain access to presidents and princes? Was it money, information, influence, or something else? Pattern interrupt. Elite universities also benefited from Epstein's donations. He funded scientific research, built relationships in academic circles. But behind the philanthropy, whispers were growing. And soon, they would no longer be whispers. Early 2000s. Florida. Law enforcement begins investigating allegations involving underage girls. In 2005, a parent reports inappropriate behavior. The investigation expands. Dozens of young women come forward. Police prepare a strong case. Federal prosecutors get involved. Then something unusual happens. Instead of a sweeping federal prosecution, negotiations begin. Why? Pattern interrupt. A secret deal is being crafted, and most of the victims don't know it's happening. What kind of leverage did Epstein have? Who was protecting him? These questions start echoing through courtrooms, but the answers were buried. Chapter 4. The 2008 Controversy. Music heavy, measured tone. In 2008, Epstein pleads guilty in Florida to state charges related to solicitation. The deal is controversial. He serves 13 months in a county jail, but not like most inmates. Work release privileges. Allowed to leave for extended periods. A private office arrangement. Federal charges are dropped as part of a non-prosecution agreement. The agreement also grants immunity to potential co-conspirators. That clause sparks outrage years later. The U.S. attorney who approved the deal, Alexander Acosta, he would later become U.S. Labor Secretary and eventually resign amid public backlash once the deal resurfaced. Pause. How did such a deal happen? Was it a failure of justice? Or something deeper? Open loop. Remember that immunity clause. It will come back. Pattern interrupt. After serving his sentence, Epstein returns to high society. He hosts dinners, attends events, maintains connections. For years, the story fades. But journalism has a long memory. And in 2018, that memory reignites everything. Then comes 2019. Federal prosecutors in New York unseal new charges. This time, it's serious. This time, it's federal. Epstein is arrested at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey. Inside his Manhattan townhouse, investigators reportedly find large amounts of cash and other materials. The world is watching. And this time, there may be no deal. Or so it seems. Chapter 5: Arrest and Media Storm. Music builds tension. Epstein is denied bail. Held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. Public interest explodes. Why was he allowed to operate for so long? Who else was involved? Will powerful names surface? Pattern interrupt. Then, July 2019. Epstein is found injured in his cell. Authorities say it was a possible suicide attempt. He is placed on suicide watch, removed from it shortly after. Then, August 10th, 2019. Jeffrey Epstein is found dead in his cell. The official ruling by the New York City Medical Examiner: suicide. The Attorney General at the time, William Barr, calls it a serious irregularity. 2 guards were later charged with falsifying records. They reached a deferred prosecution agreement. Security cameras malfunctioned. Records were incomplete. And instantly, speculation erupts. Was it negligence, conspiracy, or systemic failure? The questions multiply, and the trial that many expected never happens. With Epstein gone, attention shifts to associates, to enablers, to accountability. In 2021, British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell is convicted in federal court on sex trafficking charges related to Epstein's activities. She is sentenced to 20 years in prison. But for many, it's not enough. What about the broader network? What about the financial mysteries? What about the sealed documents? Civil lawsuits continue. Court records are unsealed in phases. Names appear. Context varies. Allegations differ. But one thing remains constant. Power shielded him for years. Pattern interrupt. Epstein's wealth. Still debated. His client list. Never publicly released in a definitive form. The immunity agreement. Still criticized. Why did so many influential people maintain contact with him even after his 2008 conviction? What did they know? What didn't they know? And how does a system designed to deliver justice fail so visibly? Open loop. Was this about one man? Or about a system that bends around wealth and influence? Conclusion: power, secrecy, and the cost of silence. Jeffrey Epstein's story is not just about crime. It's about access, about proximity to power, about how influence can blur accountability. He moved through elite circles for decades. He built relationships across politics, finance, academia, and royalty. And when the walls finally closed in, the story ended before the trial began. No cross-examinations, no full testimony, no public reckoning in a courtroom. Only fragments, documents, settlements, and unanswered questions. The case forces us to confront something uncomfortable. Is justice equal when power is involved? Or does influence rewrite the rules? History may continue to reveal pieces of the puzzle, but the shadow of this case lingers, not because of spectacle, but because of what it suggests about systems we trust.